pleasure to welcome to the National Press Club the 110th Mayor of the City of New York, the Honorable Eric Adams.
Used to look at this prestigious place, National Press Club, for many years. I don't know if you folks are familiar with the old sitcom, but right now, I feel like George Jefferson. Thank you. Victim of gun violence in every American, I'm asking for your help to expose the gun industry in this country for what it truly is. A betrayal of American values and American freedom. A factory of fear that empties directly into the sea of violence. A premeditated approach to selling guns. A predatory industry that must be changed to protect American lives in the same way of those who have killed the memory of those who passed the tobacco industry and the opioid industry. We need the free press of a free nation to tell the story of how the gun industry has a 6-hour or Springfield Armory Hellcat, a Smith Wesson M&P, or a Mossberg 590 Shockwave. That's the first step we must do. We must name the gun. Every gun, every time, every crime. Quid bono, Latin phrase. That's every lawyer begins the case. What stand and who stands to gain from this? Clearly not the American people. Just like tobacco and opioids, those who profit avoid the spotlight and cover their tracks. The gun industry has fought hard to shield itself from accountability. They have distanced themselves from the harm that their product produces and attempted to shut down the entire conversation around gun violence. But it becomes harder when we know the name of the gun and the name of the company who made it. Step 2, follow the money. When a gun crime is committed, we need the name of the gun and how the gun was obtained by the shooter. We look the other way and we can't do that anymore. Who is that shooter? And that shooter cannot pretend they were not aware. And the seller of that gun. When it was brought, how it was brought, who profited from the sale. When we follow the money, this is how you get to the heart of the story. Gun violence is no exception. Guns don't magically appear or drop from the skies. They don't just come on our scene or into our communities. Guns are made and marketed with the express purpose of generating profit. Guns are sold without any concern for where they end up or who lives are taken. Guns cause over 40,000 deaths a year in America. And gun violence is the leading cause of death of our children. In every turn, the gun companies spread misinformation and deflect blame. I have often spoken about the many rivers that feed the sea of violence. We must go upstream and dam each river of violence, and we must find the sources to dam them correctly. That means investigating the supply chains, the players, the men behind the market, the gun manufacturers and distributors and their enablers must be named and shamed. Every CEO, every board member, every significant investor should have their name associated with the story of gun violence in America. It is a travesty that we know the places where our citizens and children were murdered, but not the names of the CEOs who approved the marketing of the weapons that were used to kill them. People like Marty Daniels, CEO of Daniel Defense, the makers of the gun used to kill at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. Ron Cohen, President and CEO of Suer, makers of the gun used to kill 49 people at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando and 60 people at a music festival in Las Vegas. All people like Christopher Killoy, President and CEO of Sturm Ruger and Company, makers of the weapon used by the killer who murdered 26 people at Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, Texas. And Mark Smith, President and CEO of Smith and Wesson, makers of the gun used to kill parade goers on the 4th of July in Highland Park, Illinois. Just as the families were exposed who were behind the opioid epidemic, the source of the crisis, we need the media to define who's responsible for the crisis of gun violence. We need you. Gun companies must be covered in that same way that we covered the opioid crisis. Industry practices must be subject to public scrutiny at every level. Their marketing must be analyzed and their methods must be exposed. Gun companies routinely pursue unethical marketing practices that invite aggressive use of their products and promote antisocial and harmful messaging that promote violence. Remington's notorious "Consider Your Man card reissue" marketing campaign is a prime example. And the media was instrumental in calling them out, leading to a $73 million settlement with Remington's insurers. Every firm and agency has been paid to shamelessly market guns, promote the tactical lifestyle, and mislead the public must be called out and held accountable. In addition to covering the industry's executive decision makers and marketing partners, we must also unmask the investors who profit. Let me conclude with this. We have to question those who are hired to evade responsibility. And we must expose all the ways that the gun industry externalized their costs onto the American people. If you take away the fact from today, take one fact away. As I indicated, the industry makes $9 billion a year, but it costs the American people $557 billion a year to pay for the toll of gun violence. According to a report compiled by the Everytown for Gun Safety, the average annual cost for overall gun violence in the United States is $1,698 per person. The Robb Elementary School massacre in Uvalde, Texas, cost an estimated $244.2 million, all of which $10.2 million were borne by taxpayers. American taxpayers pay $30.16 million every day in police and criminal justice costs for investigation, prosecution, and incarceration. And it doesn't even begin to factor in the cost of human lives and human suffering. Millions of our hard-earned money has been spent to outsource our safety and to protect us from guns. Money that could be used to build affordable housing, provide health care, hire more teachers. The gun companies are leading our country dry. It's time the true cost of gun violence is splashed across every media outlet in the nation. The data on gun deaths, gun crime, and gun sales must be investigated, uncovered, and made clear to every American. We need the media to actively debunk the myths the gun industry spreads to obscure the truth. The gun industry relies on the finely honed fiction that evil is some naturally occurring force that is beyond human control. And the only way to deal with violence is with more violence. To push the false narrative, like more guns equal more safety. There's no point in gun laws because murderers will always find a way to kill. And the worst one of all, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. They tell us, these myths, to keep us from realizing the truth. Gun violence is a man-made crisis, a toxic waste spill that profit from the American people on a daily basis. Even if evil is not some unnatural occurrence that inevitably manifests itself in violence, hate can be taught, fear can be monetized, and violence can be marketed. The culture of greed and selfishness can be promoted. Those who engage in this can make a lot of money, and they are making a lot of money on the American people. So we are calling on you, as the police are continuing to do their job in New York City. We removed 500,000 illegal guns off our streets this year alone. And our city filed a landmark lawsuit against the online retailers of ghost guns. 3 of these companies have already set up. We want to allow the ATF to share information instead of withholding information. And what you're seeing is clear. Our lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are identifying the need of responsible gun laws. President Biden, Chuck Schumer, and others, members of the Senate and congressional delegation. My friends in the media, Americans need you now more than ever. You did it before during the tobacco crisis, you did it before during the opioid crisis, we need it now. The only thing more powerful than the Second Amendment in this country is the First Amendment. The story is right here. A story of greed, a story of corruption, a story of hypocrisy. We need your help to tell the story before we pull more bodies out of the sea of violence. Let's take our country up the stream and prevent the violence. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for those remarks.
Thank you.
So Mayor Adams, I was with you in South Jamaica before the election with the winningest coach,
Yes,
the one whose father treated with, Cardoza, yeah.
he's a good guy.
So you're going to put these gun CEOs and shareholders on the most wanted list so they get picked up whenever they enter New York City?
Yes, sir. I like that.
All right, thank you.